Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all our participants who are joining us today in this Bioethics and Communication course. Again, I'm here to introduce myself. I'm Zahara Sulaiman from the Women's Health Development Unit. I'm a medical lecturer and a lactation consultant. And today I'm going to share with you a topic about sexual harassment. Okay, this topic is not a new topic. It has been there for quite some time. But again, it is important for us to actually have a look again in this topic because we are talking about communications and it's important for us to refresh about this topic. Right. I'm going to cover a few points in these presentations, starting with the definitions of sexual harassment, and then I'm going to talk about myths and facts about sexual harassment, types of sexual harassment, and how can we prevent this from happening. And lastly, if this thing happened, if you know this is happening, how can you make a report about this sexual harassment? Right. Okay, we can start now. Okay, let's see the definitions when we talk about sexual harassment. Okay, the one that I highlighted in red is the important points. Okay, first, it is unwelcome sexual advances. Okay, when we say it's unwelcome, it is something that is not wanted. Okay, or when it's requested for sexual favors and or other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature constitutes sexual harassment. Okay, when submissions to or rejections of this conduct explicitly or implicitly affects individual employments. Okay, so it has some effects on the victim's employment, unreasonably interferes with the individual's work performance. Okay, the persons may feel uneasy to work or doesn't feel comfortable to work because this thing is happening to her or around her. Okay, or it creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Okay, so that's quite a mouthful of sexual harassment definitions. But the most important part is when we say that it is unwanted. Okay, so if it is unwanted, it is harassment. Okay, when we talk about unwanted, there are many instances. Some of the victim didn't actually say it out that they don't like it or they don't want this thing to happen to them, especially when this thing happen when the harasser or when the perpetrators are superior to them. Okay, they felt that they don't have the rights to voice what they feel, so they didn't say it out. Okay, but maybe later on they have the courage and they said what they don't want. Okay, so sometimes the harasser may use this as an excuse to say that the victim didn't say that she didn't like it, so they didn't want to be considered as harassment. However, that is not right. Even though the victim said much later, it is still considered as harassment. Okay, stop the sexual harassment, legislate now. So I'm sure every one of you have heard about this, the anti-sexual harassment bill, which was passed recently by the Dewan Rakyat, and I would say this is a good news for us because before this there is no a proper bill that looking into straight issues about sexual harassment. We have before this about the penal code, section 509 regarding this. I'm not going to talk further about this because I'm sure we have another lecture that will cover this about the conduct. Okay, and in Malaysia also before this we have this Malaysian Code of Practice. Okay, and in the Code of Practice it is mentioned that any unwanted conduct of sexual nature having the effects of verbal or non-verbal, visual, psychological, or physical harassment. Okay, and it has to have these two components that might or reasonably ground to be perceived by the recipients as placing some conditions of sexual nature, or might on reasonable ground be perceived by the recipient as an offense or humiliations. Yeah? Okay, so this is actually has been there, and we can use this to help us report the case. Right. Let me continue by sharing with you some of the facts about sexual harassment. when we talk about sexual harassment, okay, first, the victim may not necessarily be female, okay? Male also can be the victim as well as the harasser. It means that it can be a male who harass a female, or it can be a female who harass a male, okay? However, in terms of numbers, it is more common the female is the victim and the man is the harasser, okay? The second facts about sexual harassment, okay, the harasser can be the victim supervisor or someone who is superior, or the harasser can be an agent of the employer or a superior in another area, or a co-worker or a non-employee. Okay, so and when we talk about the issues now, we are in hospital environment, we are in university environment. Okay, so the harasser can be part of us, the staff, or can be the non-staff, can be the patients, can be just the patient relatives or visitors. Okay, so it can be just anyone there. And the last facts about sexual harassment is that the victim, okay, the victim does not have to be the person harassed. Interesting. But could be anyone affected by the offensive conduct. Okay, what does it mean? Okay, for example, a person observed, they witness someone being harassed, and that actually affects her emotionally, and she can be considered as victim as well, even though it was not that act was not something happened to her. Okay, so these are some facts. Let's see some of the data here, which I got from the WHO. And if you look into the number of victims, okay, male and female, we can see that the number of female outnumbered number of males. Okay, so over here I would say that in terms of ratio, we can say that 1 in 5, 1 male, 4 to 5 female, and it's quite a high number, like maybe 20%. I would say males are also the victims of sexual harassment. And also, like the same sex can be the perpetrators, can be the harasser, can also be the victims. Like male can be the victim who be harassed by the male co-workers or male supervisors. Okay, next one, we are going to talk about the types of sexual harassment. Okay, in general, we can actually divide the sexual harassment into two types, which are the first one is sexual coercion, and the second one is sexual annoyance. Okay, it is a very marked difference in terms of the two, and I'm going to explain both of them. Right, okay, the first one, when we talk about sexual coercion, okay, or what we call it quid pro quo, this for that, and this usually happened between a worker with a superior. Okay, it usually occur with someone who has less power in the workplace, and the harasser is usually, okay, someone who has the power in the workplace. Okay, and if the victim, okay, agree with what being asked by the harasser, okay, the victim can receive some privileges. So in this situation, we can really see there is abuse of power, especially if the victim is a new workers or someone juniors, and feel that he or she can't say no to any request by their supervisors. Okay, I give you here two examples which are commonly occur. Okay, the first one is about a supervisor coerce an employer into sexual relationship, and then reward the employer with a promotion. In our situations, in university, in hospitals, okay, for example, a lecturer or a tutor can request for sexual favor, and will tell the students that if you do this, I will give you a higher marks, or I give you a distinctions, and this is actually wrong, which is actually a conduct of sexual coercion. Okay, or instead of giving reward, okay, the harasser can say that if you don't do this, I will not pass to you. Okay, if you don't agree with my favor, I will extend your placement in my wards, things like that. Okay, so a supervisor can take disciplinary action and denies a promotion because he or she rejects sexual advancement, and this is also because there is a power relation, and abusive of the power make the victim if they don't really know their rights, they kind of like have to agree with them. But this is just so wrong, and it is not supposed to be a practice. Okay, uh, if you can see there, I just put this poster that said, "Meet me at 10 p.m. in my hotel room. Come alone." Okay, uh, maybe to some junior staff. Okay, they take this as something something serious, that okay, I have to go there. If not, maybe I will not be promoted, things like that. But this is totally wrong. I mean, you cannot just ask your subordinates, your workers to come and see you alone, and this is just not acceptable conduct. Right. So this is the first type of sexual harassment, which we call it sexual coercion. And I'm going to continue to explain to you about the second types, which is the sexual annoyance. Okay, and sexual annoyance usually occurs what we call also in hostile environment. It is unwelcome, offensive, demeaning, intimidating sexual related behavior. Okay, may have no direct connections to job benefits. Okay, and it can occur in the form of violence of employees against employers or customers against employees. However, this can be created in an environment by supervisors, co-workers, or non-employees. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples here so that you can see the difference between sexual coercions and sexual annoyance. Okay, example of the second hostile environment is like displaying pin-up calendars or sexually demeaning pictures. For example, you have your PCs and you have your home screen and you pin up all these sexual pictures. Okay, so people who actually pass through your cubicle or your place, in a way they kind of see that and they don't like it, and that can be considered as displaying demeaning pictures. Okay, or making sexual oriented jokes or offensive remarks. It's very important for us to be very careful, especially nowadays. Most of the time, we have this communication online. We have these WhatsApp groups, right? Departments WhatsApp groups or working WhatsApp groups, and usually you have male and females in the group. To some males, maybe sharing a photo is a joke, but to some female that is not joke at all. Okay, so it's very important not to make sexually oriented jokes, especially when you have in a big group and you don't know them, all of them. Okay, right. So remember, intention does not matter if a person feels harassed or humiliated. Sometimes when we when we see the harasser, and then they may say that, oh, I don't mean to to harass her. This is just a joke. I mean, she shouldn't take that hard. But again, intention does not matter. If a person feel harassed, it is harassment. Okay, another point we have to remember that, okay, working with different people, different background, different ethnic, different people have different reason to the same different reactions to the same behavior, and different interpretation. Okay, to some people that is okay, but to another person B that is just not okay. Personal space, again, that is an example. We all have personal space, and if you go too close to people and people don't feel comfortable with that, if it's not looking into carefully, it can be harassment. All right, I'm going to go quickly about these few slides about myth and facts. I put together what's myth and what's fact. This is just for us to increase our knowledge about these issues. Okay, first, sexual harassment is not an employment issue. That is not true, because what we are doing today, because it is an issue and we want people to come to work feeling happy. And as you know, USM is very concerned about happiness index. We want our students, our doctors, our staff come to work and feeling happy to actually working in the environment. So because of that, we want to make sure that we have this talk so that everybody is aware about this and trying to create a positive environment. Right. Sexual harassment is a new phenomenon, a sign of the time. A policy of sexual harassment will not increase will only increase the incident. This is not true at all. Okay. It is there. People are scared to make report because maybe they were not sure about their safety. So if we have this policy, and now we already have it, and we hope that by having this, it can actually decrease the incidents. Okay, the third myth. People who object have no sense of humor. They take all fun out of work. Okay, this is again not true. Okay, it is neither funny, not fun, to be subjected to unwanted or offensive behavior. Okay, it's degrading and humiliating and affects working conditions and careers. Okay, this is again when I talk about like male and female. Sometimes they have different language about what joke is all about. Okay, so make sure that if you want to make jokes, you do it like personally with friends that you are very familiar with, but never in an open group where you don't know people, and it can be misleading what it's all about. Okay, the next myth. It is not really sexual harassment. It is just a way of giving compliments. Okay, this is again, a person usually feels flattered, not uncomfortable and edgy. When receiving complaints, remember it is the recipient who determines whether it is appropriate behavior, not the harasser. Okay, maybe to some people, put your hands at the back of a person, that is a way to give a compliment. Okay, thank you. But not everybody like to do it that way, especially when when you are given, the hints that don't come close to me and I don't like that. So you should stop. Okay, you should never feel that it's a compliment. It is just not right. Okay, the next one. Okay, women are to be blamed. The way they dress these days is asking for trouble. This is just not true again. Okay, there is no excuse for sexual harassment. It occurs irrespective of the clothes. Harassers who says a person's clothes contribute to sexual harassment, in fact, admitting to being unable to control their behavior. Okay, and because we know that sexual harassment can occur to just anyone, young or old. Okay, regardless of how they dress. Okay, women actually enjoy being sexually harassed. You cannot change human nature. Men and women have always been sexually attracted to each other. Okay, and this is not true. Again, this is just myth, because like sexual attractions is by mutual consent. Okay, and sexual harassment is unwanted and unwelcome attention. The last two myths. Okay, only certain types of people harass other people. Is that true? Well, in fact, all people of all types and in all kinds of occupations have been found to be harasser. Okay, they can be people in power, co-worker, and even subordinates. Okay, of course, when you remember back, I showed you, the two types of sexual harassment. The first time, the sexual coercion is more common among those who have the power, but again, the sexual annoyance can just occur to anyone. You can be just at the same co-worker, and you can harass your other co-worker, which is bad. All right, the last myth that I have to share with you today is, if you ignore sexual harassment, it will go away. That is just not true. Okay, you have to report that. Because of that, you have to report that. Okay, the harasser will not get the message that, it's okay, because like when there is no report, the harasser may say, that's good, like no one report, so I can just continue what I'm doing. So harasser often assume that silence means consent and are encouraged. Okay, silence does not stop the harassment. So if we want to stop the harassment, we have to speak up, we have to stand up. Okay, that's another big message that I'm giving to you today, regardless whether you are male or female, because it can happen to both sexes. Okay, we are halfway now, and I will continue. I've completed the first two parts of these lectures. I've talked to you about the definitions, the myths and facts, and now I'm going to go in a bit more detail about the types of harassment that can occur. Okay, there are a few types of harassment. They're verbal, non-verbal, physical, and psychological. Okay, so verbal is something that you say out. Okay, using the obscenities, using the words that are not wanted by other people. Okay, you're making suggestive comments or joke. Okay, some as simple as, "Wow, merahnya," something like that. Okay, or bulatnya, whatever. The words that is make people feel uncomfortable, making sexual propositions. Okay, so you use words. Okay, you use words, and then the way you say it out is also may be the meaning. Right. The second types of harassment is non-verbal. Okay, but it's like how your body language will say it more. Okay, for example, staring at someone. Okay, you stare at person from top to bottom, up and down, again and again, or obscene gesture. Okay, the way you walk besides the person, or suggestive noises. Okay, you make noises, saying that you like the way the person dress, or things like that. And it can be something demeaning, and that person doesn't feel comfortable. Okay, or sexually suggestive glances. Okay, you look straight to the persons, and then keep on looking at the person, and you keep on looking at the person again, up and down, and making that person very, very uncomfortable. Right. The other one is physical harassment. Okay, this is definitely like touching, hugging, kissing, pinching, flirting. Okay, I know in our working environment, okay, sometimes physical distance is not possible. For example, in OTs, for example, if you are doing surgery, okay, you have to like be close together with one another, of course, but still, uh, only us know whether we are actually doing that harassment to the other people. Okay, uh, harassment, we can do that sometimes to our patients with or uh, whether we realize it, or maybe some people say they don't realize that. Okay, and this is where chaperone is very important. When we want to go and examine patients, it's very important that we have chaperone around with us, so that we can avoid having any misconduct reported. And this thing is something that we have to be very careful about. Okay. Um, the other types of is psychological harassment. Okay, harms a person's psychology well-being and includes oppressively constant proposal for dates. Okay, asking a person to go out. Asking a person to have a coffee, something like that, and repeated undesirable physical intimacy on social invitation. Yeah. Sending photos or sending messages that person just doesn't like it. So all forms of sexual harassment are behavior that elicits sexual attention. Okay, so these are the types of, and sometimes can happen one type at a time. A person can experience psychological and physical harassment at the same time. And the worst thing is that if it happened again and again, and it happened to more than one victims. Okay, being a committee in the university on sexual harassment, yes, this thing do happen, and we are taking seriously about this issue. Right. So who are more at risk? If you look into these job categories, okay, those who experience sexual harassment are highest among the operators, which means they are at the lowest more ranking of job. Again, it's related to the sexual coercion that I mentioned earlier. Okay, if you look into that, the managerial is the one that had the least experience. Okay, perhaps because of their positions. Okay, they are less likely to be the victims. But the lower the ranking of a worker, the higher the risk of a person to become the victim, which is sad, and that shouldn't be the case. We are supposed to respect everyone regardless of their working status. Okay. Right. This, you can't really see this slide, but what I want to highlight here, these are types of harassment that has been reported. Okay, di tempat kerja, working place. And if you can look in here, if I can just so here is like whether they have experienced this thing. One of the highest is gurau senda. They use offensive words. Okay, people use offensive words, and that is just not accepted. Maybe I can give you one example, as simple as this is maybe more common among Malays that being reported, right? Okay, hari ni malam Jumaat, tak balik awal ke? Okay, to some workers, this is something harassment. They just don't like that kind of jokes. All right, I'm sharing with you now some of these news from our local newspapers. Okay, and some is quite new and some are not quite new, but a few years ago. The first one is sexual misconduct, orthopedic doctors sack. I'm sure we have heard about this one. It was one of in the prime news about a few years ago, and it said this thing happened. Recently, this was in May 2022, trainee doctors face sexual harassment, physical abuse. Okay, so sexual harassment and physical abuse two together, which is another thing that shouldn't happen to any of us. The doctors, we are actually supposed to protect our youngsters. This is very busy slides. I'm not expecting you to read the whole lot. I'm just going to highlight here. This was long ago, 2009. Okay, woman sexually molested by her employer doctor. Okay, and if you look at this thing happened in 2009, but everything was settled in 2015. Okay, so it was her fourth day and working as a clinic assistant. Okay, and she was traumatized because she was new and the doctor take advantage of her and harass her and was charged. That was the good point about this news. The impact to the victims, it can be detrimental. It can be long term. It's not just something that it happened to her. Okay, she can forget that. Most of the time, it is detrimental. It can affect the family life. It can affect the future as well. Okay, the incident is very traumatic for me as I had just started working at the clinic. Said the woman who got married last year. Okay, so these are the things, the effects that sometimes we overlook. Sadly, this news recently, a Malaysian doctor who was found guilty of sexually assaulting 4 male patients at a clinic in Hastings, New Zealand, back in 2014, has been deported. Okay, Malaysian doctors found guilty, and this doesn't only in Malaysia, but it happened also in international other countries as well. But Malaysian doctor, which is not a good news to see. But again, if we are not careful, if we are not having this integrity, it can happen to us. Right, so I'm going to continue again. So the last part, okay? So I hope that you have got the main points about what I have shared with you. First is about the definitions of harassment. The main word is unwanted, it's harassed. It is not depends on the harasser intentions. It depends on how the victim perceive that. If it doesn't like it, it is not wanted. And sexual harassment is not your fault. It's not about sex, it's about power. When the person has the power, usually he or she tend to use the power to harass the subordinate. Of course, not all the cases. Okay, this is a type of one of the sexual harassment that I have mentioned. Okay, so how can we prevent this? What are our role and what can we do if we see this happen in front of us? Okay, so all of us here, we are supposed to be, taking responsibility. If we see this thing happen, if we know it is happening in our department, okay, we have to make a report. We want this thing to stop. We want this thing to stop. So how can we do this? How can we help this? Okay. First, by having a policy, it will be helpful. Okay. I'm going to tell you after this is that University of Science Malaysia is one of the university in Malaysia that has this anti-harassment policy. We started to have this policy, I think, back in 2009, and then it was formally used a few years after that. And this anti-harassment policy is a guide, and we want people to, the staff, the students who are in USM to feel that they are being protected if this thing happen. Okay. Second, educate and train employees. Okay, so one of the things what we are doing today is actually to educate and to ensure that when our students are actually aware of this, and there is a committee that look into this more seriously. If we receive any complaints, we can actually investigate further, and we can suggest things that how we can deal with the harasser. Monitor enforcement of anti-harassment policy, investigate allegations of sexual harassment. Okay, I'm going to talk to you a bit more about the investigations in our university, and how we actually go about if this thing we know happen. Right, reporting cases. If you look further down, this under add one. Okay, you can also complain about this at the under Ombudsman USM. Okay, issue gangguan sexual can go through this Ombudsman USM. You can write to them. Okay, you can email them. You can call them. Okay, that is one way on how we can act this. Another one is that we can also report this through Jawatan Kuasa Teras Gangguan Seksual. Okay, in this Jawatan Kuasa Teras Gangguan Seksual, okay, we have for all campus there are committees. Okay, so for this health campus, it's me and Dr. Mujahid. We both are the committees that are responsible to be of help. If there is any complaints, so you can email us or you can call us. Okay, and then we can help you with what's you want us to help, or how you want us to help you. In many cases, the victim usually doesn't want to be known because they are afraid about their safety. So we can actually discuss the best way on how we can approach this. We are very considerate regarding the safety of the victims, and because of that, all the reports that come to us are confidential. Okay, and that is very important for us to inform the victims so that they feel easy to talk to us. Of course, in many cases, usually they will tell us, please don't reveal my name. Please, don't tell the perpetrators that it's from me. We understand that. Usually they will already tell us like, okay, we just want the perpetrators to stop doing it, and as long as the perpetrators can stop, that's good for me. Okay, right. So whatever it is, we will have a discussions, and we will see what's the best approach that we can help the victim. Okay. So protect individual confidential, protect individuals against retaliation, take a corrective action immediately. Okay, so this is and of course we have deal with cases here in USM, and we ensure the safety of the victims. Right, if you see we have this say no to sexual harassment posters in the hospitals environment, even in health campus environment. Okay, so this is to highlight, and we are serious about this. And if you need any help, okay, you can see our names there and our phone number is there. Okay, this poster is similar to this poster. Okay, if you said only that is a bit different in terms of font, but in terms of the content, you can contact me or Dr. Mujahid. Okay. Right. Um, this is my last part about this topic. I'm sorry this slide is in Malay, but I will explain the slides in English. This is the flow charts, okay, on what will happen when the committee receive a report regarding this sexual harassment. Okay, so when the victim feel that she has been harassed or he has been arrested, so the victim can come to us directly, okay, or if the victim feels that no, I don't have the courage, or I'm scared, so the victim can get help from friends or get help from lecturers or whoever a person that he or she trusts. Okay, or if he feels so down or so stressed, and that a victim may go through counselors first, and again the counselor can actually come to us and report the case. So the point that we want to highlight here is that the cases can come to us in many ways. It's either through the victims, him or herself directly, or it's either through someone who they familiar or comfortable with, their friends, or through another healthcare providers or healthcare workers like counselors or lecturers. Okay, and once we receive the case, there are a few options on how we can handle this. Go through formal legal, or we go through mediation, or if the persons need some kinds of treatment, counselings, or then we can offer that as well. And that one is the yellow one, jika perlu, counselings if they need that one. Okay. All right. So mediation is like a middle person. Like you, usually what happens is that when they come and see us, okay, they say, okay, we will say, okay, what do you want? Okay, they say, okay, I don't want to take any action towards the perpetrators or towards the harasser because they are just he just my colleagues. I know him personally. I just want him to stop doing what he is doing. Okay, so right, so me or Dr. Mujahid as the mediator will actually convey this message to the harasser. Okay, we have received a complaint, blah blah blah. The victims would like you to stop this. Would you agree not to do it again because it is not comfortable, it's not funny, it is demeaning. Okay, so if persetujuan dicapai, it means that if the harasser agree, okay, I know it was a mistake and I'm sorry, right? So we draft like a agreement between the harasser and the victim, saying, okay, I agree to stop blah 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 and I will not do it again. Okay, so if this thing happen, well, good enough. Perjanjian dipatuhi, complete the case. Okay. However, sometimes when we told the harasser we got a complaint and the harasser said, oh no, I didn't mean that. Again, if you remember, usually the harasser said that I don't mean to harass her. It was just a way to compliment her. I just put my hand at the back, pat her on the back, just a way to compliment her. So I don't agree. It was not my fault. So if persetujuan tidak dicapai, okay, and if the victim said, oh, okay, so he didn't agree to stop, then I want to proceed with the legal action. Then we go through the proses kilanan. Okay, but if the victim said, okay, perhaps I should just take a rest, but it's a pity. It's not her fault, right? But I say, okay, I don't want to continue. Just leave it here. So case diberhentikan. And what happened next is the procedure kilanan. Okay, this is the legal committee will actually do all the investigation, internal investigation, and will come up with reports. And they will be lembaga tata tertib university. Okay, this committee university will actually decide whether this case is a true case, and then tindakan diambil. Okay. If is the case was found true and it happened, and action can be taken against the harasser. And dibuang kerja, one of it, they can be terminated from their service, and that's not a good thing. Okay, and it has happened, and it can happen. So these are the things that ways on how we can handle the case. Of course, from time to time, we also do like talk, or we do like a taklimat talk or taklimat regarding this, and from school to schools or from department to department, whenever we have the invitations to do that from the department, and that also can help to increase the awareness of the staff, and also to everyone who are involved with our university at large. So this is actually my last slide. Okay, my last slide before I finish for this session. Unfortunately, because it is online, it's a one-way communication. It's a bit difficult for me to actually assess, the clarity of my topic. But well, we try to do what we have. So what we need to do, the take-home message from this lecture is say no clearly. If we don't like what the person do to us, we have to say, don't do that, stop, I don't like it. Okay, we have to be very firm and to let that person know that it is not accepted and it's not warranted. Okay. Secondly, document what happened. If you have a photo, keep the photo. If there is a WhatsApp message, keep the message. If whatever you have the evidence to say that harassment had happened, then keep it, because you may need that later on to make a report. Okay. And last, contact the committee or contact whoever that you feel comfortable with, through different channel, the ombudsman or through the committee of Jawatan Gangguan Seksual, so that we know and we can help you. Okay, so again, I hope you have understood some of the points that I've talked today regarding sexual harassment, and I hope that every one of us here can play our role to ensure that USM is a safe environment for us to work and to study in a very nice environment. That's all for my presentation today. And if you have any questions, you can contact me through my emails there. Okay, zahra.usm.my. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.